The corridors of the academy had always been my sanctuary, a place where knowledge reigned supreme, and the mysteries of the world lay waiting to be unraveled. As a professor and a dedicated occult researcher, I had spent years delving into the esoteric and the forbidden, seeking the truths that hid beneath the surface. But little did I know that my insatiable curiosity would lead me down a path of darkness and despair. One fateful evening, as I sat alone in my study surrounded by ancient tomes and arcane artifacts, an email arrived in my inbox. The sender was anonymous, the subject line simply reading, "A revelation awaits." Intrigued, I opened the email to find a single sentence: "The Devil's Tome holds the answers you seek." Chills ran down my spine as I read those words, a mixture of excitement and trepidation bubbling within me. I was no stranger to the legend of the Devil's Tome, a tome said to contain the darkest secrets of the universe, a repository of forbidden knowledge that could drive men to madness. It was a tale whispered among scholars, a cautionary tale that warned of the consequences of seeking power beyond comprehension. Unable to resist the allure, I embarked on a search for the elusive book. Weeks turned into months as I scoured ancient bookstores and clandestine markets, my obsession growing with each fruitless lead. Until one day, in the dimly lit corner of an antiquarian shop, I found it, an unassuming leather-bound volume with a title that seemed to pulse with malevolent energy, The Unveiling of Shadows. As I held the book in my hands, a sense of foreboding washed over me, a feeling that I was standing on the precipice of something both wondrous and dangerous. The pages were filled with cryptic symbols and inscrutable text, each word a doorway into a realm of understanding that was beyond mortal comprehension. As I delved into its contents, I began to decipher the ancient language, unraveling the secrets that had remained hidden for centuries. It was then that I stumbled upon a section that sent a shiver down my spine, a demon summoning ritual. The instructions were intricate, the symbols etched with precision, and the words whispered of power that could reshape reality itself. Curiosity gnawed at me, my rational mind warring with the allure of the forbidden. I knew the risks, the dangers of meddling with forces beyond human control. But as the nights grew longer and my obsession deepened, my curiosity got the better of me. With trepidation, I set up my study for the ritual, arranging candles in intricate patterns and tracing symbols on the floor. The air was charged with an electric energy, the weight of centuries bearing down on me. My hands trembled as I held the book open, my voice trembling as I recited the incantations, the words echoing in the dimly lit room. As I completed the ritual, a hush settled over the room, a silence that seemed to stretch for an eternity. And then, the atmosphere shifted, a gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles and plunging me into darkness. A chill raced down my spine as a presence, cold and malevolent, filled the room. In the shadows, I saw it, a figure, dark and ethereal, its eyes gleaming with an unholy light. Fear and awe warred within me as I stared into the abyss, realizing the gravity of my mistake. The demon before me was a force beyond comprehension, a being that defied the laws of nature. As I fumbled for my camera, desperation clouding my thoughts, I realized the futility of my actions. The demon's laughter echoed in the air, a sound that reverberated through my very soul. It spoke in a voice that dripped with ancient wisdom and malevolence, a voice that whispered of forbidden truths and eternal damnation. In a blink, the room was filled with a searing light, and the demon vanished, leaving behind only the acrid scent of sulfur and a profound sense of dread. The camera had captured nothing but an empty room, a testament to the futility of trying to control forces beyond human understanding. As I stared at the footage, a heavy weight settled over me. I had trespassed into realms that were not meant for mortals, and now I was left with the haunting realization that I had unleashed something far more sinister than I could have ever imagined. The Devil's Tome had revealed its true nature, a Pandora's box of malevolence and chaos that had forever altered the course of my life. In the aftermath of that fateful night, I was haunted by the presence I had summoned, tormented by visions and whispers that seemed to follow me wherever I went. The shadows held secrets I could never fully grasp, and the boundaries between reality and nightmare blurred into an indistinguishable haze. As I write this account, I can still feel the demon's presence intensify, its whispers echoing in the recesses of my mind. Nightmares plague my sleep. I can't escape the feeling that I'm being watched, that the boundary between worlds has been breached. Desperation gnaws at me as I seek a way to undo what I've done, to close the door I've opened. But the demon's presence persists, a reminder of the dangers that come with seeking knowledge beyond our grasp. The Devil's Tome was never meant to be wielded by mortal hands, and the consequences of my curiosity are a burden I must bear for the rest of my days. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the quiet neighborhood as I stepped outside to fetch the morning paper. But something unusual caught my eye, a book, resting innocently on my doorstep. I frowned, perplexed by its presence. I had no memory of ordering any books recently, and it certainly wasn't my usual reading material. Picking it up, I examined the cover, a leather-bound tome with ornate patterns etched into the surface. Its pages were crisp and new, untouched by time. The title was curious, A Mirror Unveiled. With a curious mixture of intrigue and caution, I decided to bring it inside and give it a glance. As I opened the book, my eyes scanned the first few lines. The words were cryptic, almost poetic, describing a world both beautiful and mysterious. But then, my heart skipped a beat as I read a passage that felt uncannily familiar, a description of my own morning routine. Shaken, I flipped through the pages, each one recounting events from my life, the coffee shop I frequented, the conversations I had, even my private thoughts. It was as if someone had meticulously documented my entire existence. Panic set in as I realized that the book was narrating events that hadn't happened yet, a premonition of my future. Frantically, I tried to rationalize. Maybe it was an elaborate prank or a strange coincidence. But as the hours ticked by, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled deep within me. The book's predictions continued to unfold, each page bringing my reality into eerie alignment with its words. The following day, I found myself standing outside the coffee shop described in the book. Every detail matched, the barista's friendly smile, the scent of freshly brewed coffee, even the overheard conversations. It was as if the book was dictating my life, leaving me helpless to defy its ominous narrative. Days turned into nights, and the book's grip on my reality tightened. I would read about a chance encounter, and then it would happen, my every movement dictated by its haunting prose. I became a prisoner to its pages, my life unraveling in a predetermined dance of events. In desperation, I sought answers. I traced the book's origins, reaching out to scholars, experts in the supernatural, anyone who could offer insight. But their responses were laced with skepticism or fear. None had encountered anything like this before. As the book's predictions grew darker, I realized the inevitability of my circumstances. It wasn't just mirroring my life, it was shaping it, molding my actions and choices into a sinister pattern. With each page I turned, I was drawn closer to a fate I couldn't escape. One evening, as I read about an impending accident, I knew I had to take action. With a heavy heart, I made a decision: I would defy the book's script. I would break free from its grasp, even if it meant facing the unknown. A few minutes before the specified time of the incident, the atmosphere grew electric, charged with an otherworldly energy. The air seemed to crackle with tension, and an eerie chill settled over the room. My ears were assaulted by a high-pitched shriek, a sound that clawed at my senses and sent shivers down my spine. Objects around me trembled, and I watched in horror as they moved of their own accord, as if caught in the grip of an invisible force. Panic surged through me, a tidal wave of terror that threatened to drown out reason. With each passing second, the activity intensified, a symphony of chaos that seemed to defy the laws of nature. I knew that I couldn't remain in the confines of my home any longer. The book's grip was unrelenting, and I was determined to break free from its clutches. Adrenaline fueled my movements as I stumbled towards the front door, my heart pounding in my chest. Once outside, I found myself standing in the middle of the street, the world a blur of motion around me. The oncoming traffic was a blur of headlights and honking horns, a maelstrom of chaos that mirrored the turmoil within me. As the seconds dwindled down to mere heartbeats, I closed my eyes, a silent prayer on my lips. And then, in the midst of the chaos, I felt a force, a presence that seemed to guide my steps. With a surge of determination, I stepped forward, the world around me fading into a blur. The wind howled in my ears, the sounds of the city fading away as a sense of clarity washed over me. And in that moment, I felt a surge of impact, a collision that reverberated through my entire being. I opened my eyes to find myself standing on the sidewalk, my heart racing and my breath coming in ragged gasps. A car had screeched to a halt just inches from me, its horn blaring in protest. The driver stared wide-eyed through the windshield, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. For a moment, time seemed to stand still, the world frozen in the aftermath of a near tragedy. The book's hold had shattered, the script of its predictions torn apart by my defiance. The air was heavy with a newfound sense of liberation, a freedom I had fought so hard to reclaim. As the world around me resumed its normal rhythm, I realized that I had broken free from the book's grip. The premonitions, the inescapable fate, had been averted through sheer determination. With a mix of relief and awe, I walked away from the scene, each step a testament to the power of choice, of challenging the bounds of what was written and embracing the unknown.
The day had been ordinary, a routine trip to the thrift store in search of hidden treasures. I was drawn to a dusty corner where boxes of books lay, stacked haphazardly. A sign declared them on sale, $5 for a box. Unable to resist, I picked one at random, carrying it home with the anticipation of exploring its literary gems. Upon emptying the box onto my dining table, my excitement waned to confusion. A mishmash of novels, cookbooks, and magazines spilled forth. Among them, however, was an old diary, its pages yellowed with age. A decorative lock adorned its cover, and as I held it, a shiver ran down my spine. It felt like the gaze of long-forgotten memories piercing through the layers of time. Curiosity piqued, I delicately picked the lock and opened the diary to its first page. The name Eleanor was scrawled in childish handwriting, and I was instantly transported to the life of a young girl from a different era. Eleanor wrote of her adventures, her fears, and her dreams in the pages of the diary. But as I read on, the entries grew darker, revealing a sense of unease that clung to her words. The following days brought with them a series of unsettling events. Objects moved on their own accord, strange shadows danced at the corners of my vision, and a chilling breeze seemed to whisper through the rooms of my home. I dismissed these occurrences as mere tricks of the mind, until one fateful night when I woke up to the sound of soft laughter echoing through the darkness. I stumbled out of bed and followed the eerie laughter to the source, the diary. Its pages were turning on their own, the handwriting shifting from childlike to something more sinister. My heart raced as I read the new message that had materialized on the pages. "I'm here with you now." Fear gripped me as I slammed the diary shut, my hands trembling. I considered discarding it, but a morbid curiosity kept me from letting go. Instead, I decided to research the diary's origins, hoping for answers to the growing terror that gripped my life. Late nights were spent poring over dusty archives and yellowing documents, my obsession with Eleanor's story intensifying. The more I discovered, the more I realized the extent of the darkness that had surrounded her short life. Tragedy, loss, and inexplicable occurrences seemed to have plagued her existence. One evening, as I delved deeper into Eleanor's story, I felt a presence in the room, a presence that was not mine alone. The air grew cold, and an otherworldly whisper seemed to echo around me. My gaze darted to the diary, and there, the pages were alive with words forming before my eyes. "You cannot escape me." Panicked, I hurled the diary across the room, watching as it landed with a thud. But the whisper persisted, growing louder and more insistent. Eleanor's anguish seemed to seep into every crevice of the room, suffocating me with its weight. Determined to break free from the grasp of the possessed diary, I returned to the ancient oak tree mentioned in Eleanor's entries. The century oak was more than just a tree, it was a confidant, a companion to her solitary days. She often mentioned seeking solace under its ancient branches, finding comfort in its presence. Her notes spoke of its whispered wisdom, the way its leaves rustled with secrets only she could hear. Beneath its gnarled roots, I buried the diary, hoping to sever the connection that had bound her to me. As the dirt covered the diary, a chilling wind swept through the air. I felt a surge of cold energy pass through me, and then, silence. The presence that had haunted my days and nights seemed to dissipate, leaving me breathless and trembling. Days turned into weeks, and the eerie occurrences ceased entirely. I cautiously dared to believe that I had freed myself from Eleanor's grip. But the memory of those haunted days would forever linger, a reminder that the past, no matter how distant, has a way of reaching out from beyond the grave, seeking release and redemption.